Hello and welcome to a special broadcast on India Today. I'm Gaurav Sawant. With me, some of the finest voices on matters military as we decode Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror that's been bleeding India for decades. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi very clearly saying that there will be unimaginable punishment that will be given not just to those terrorists but to terror backers. And is this a very clear and perhaps the clearest articulation that the terror backers are Pakistan army or that Pakistan military jihad complex? So does this mean that India is all set to inflict punishment on Pakistan's armed forces? And does that mean that when Pakistan retaliates, because it's not if, but when Pakistan retaliates, India must be prepared? Not just the armed forces, but every Indian. Because every Indian has been a victim of Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, whether it was the 1993 Mumbai blast, where we lost 257 people, or the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, where we lost another 166, or the 2006 train blast, where we lost 200 people. So just count the number of civilians who've been killed, much more than the number of armed forces personnel who fell in the line of fire battling Pakistan's military jihad complex. Now it's time for India's combined might to say enough is enough and respond. So how are these preparations happening? We'll give you those details. The experts that we have: Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General of Infantry, somebody who planted the first tricolour on Bilafondla at the Siachen Glacier, the highest point on Operation Meghdoot 1984, joins us on this special show. Sir, welcome. Captain D.K. Sharma, former spokesperson of the Indian Navy, someone who was commanding a drone squadron in the Indian Navy a long time back. And of course, India Today's Sandeep Unnithan, a dear friend who's covered Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror and war with me for decades. But first, I want to tell you about some of the preparations that are happening. What are the drills that were carried out? I want to give you details of those drills that were carried out. So first, the air raid siren. Our generation hasn't heard of the air raid siren. We've been the lucky ones. Of course, I've heard it. Sandeep's heard it when we were reporting the conflict in Israel and in Ukraine. But General Kulkarni must have heard it in the 65 and the 71 war. Absolutely. Captain D.K. Sharma must have heard it. But what are those air raid checks? What do those sirens mean? What is it that you need to do the moment you hear that air raid siren? I'll get you those details. Then implementation of blackout protocols. Is it still important in this day and age? 21st century warfare, when the adversary has GPS coordinates, exact latitude and longitude of our vital assets and vital points, do we still need a blackout when that alert goes up? Then the training of civilians, especially civil defense, measures that need to be taken in self-protection. The moment you hear the air raid siren, head to the nearest metro station, for example, if you have a metro station, an underground bunker, if you're in those border areas, or in the basement of a building, make sure it's secure, but that's where you need to head. The drill to camouflage vital assets and vital points and vital installations to protect them, because when you look at those Pakistani missiles, there's a lot of territory in our country that those Pakistani missiles can target. Of course, you have the interceptors, but at the same time, you need to be prepared. Drill number 5 is, in case of an escalation, protect your national monuments. Now, India, very clearly, the implication is India is ready for every situation. As per that escalation ladder, there are multiple levels of that escalation ladder, more than 40 levels, but we will tell you about some of those. There's drill number 6, which is evacuation routes. What does that mean? If you're in a crowded area, how best can you get out? Ensure that the roads are safe for emergency vehicles to come in, whether it's ambulances or fire brigades. Do keep in mind, there could be subversive activities. There is the enemy within. We have porous borders. Enemies could come in from some of our porous borders. The Nepal border is open. Bangladesh is a porous border. Myanmar, the border remains a cause for concern at times. The enemy could come in through the porous borders and strike from behind us, strike the convoys, strike military installations. When a unit is deployed in battle, there's something called the rear. They could target the rear. They could target the convoys. So a lot of protocols have to be put in place and are already being put in place. Before I come to my guest for a wider analysis, I want you for a moment to listen in to what an air raid siren is like. We were reporting the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I was reporting in Ukraine, and this, of course, is an image from Israel. We were in southern Israel, and that's when the air raid siren suddenly went out. And again, we were told to rush to the nearest bunker. Remember, there are many buildings here. There were no bunkers, so we went into a building basement. But just listen to what happened.
Running away to safety because
we are just being told that we're supposed, as they can hear, apparently there is some movement that is happening. There are people rushing into their homes. We're also trying to rush into their home right now. So, situation here is extremely tense. Let me now try and show. This is the house. This is a safety door that has been shut. This is a door that's completely been shut down now. As soon as those sirens were heard, show you this house. So it has a specially reinforced all metal door, all metal frame inside this door that's been shut. Ventilation point completely shut. And I also noticed that this is the reinforced window, specially reinforced window. So this cannot break with the splinters. So it's almost like a bulletproof glass in this room. The air conditioning is on, this reinforced concrete. So this what life is like right now in Israel. And how far are we from, sir? How far are we from the Lebanese border right now?
15 kilometers.
15 kilometers. So the moment that rocket is fired from that side, how much time do we have here?
We need 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
To run to the Mamad.
Just 15 seconds.
Yes.
Just 15 seconds.
So it takes, you have only 15 seconds to run to this shelter. This is the bomb shelter in this house. It's actually a very well constructed bomb shelter which has specially reinforced concrete walls.
Okay, हम लोग इस समय यहाँ से भागकर जा रहे हैं. We are running away to safety because the rocket alert has been sounded. Watch around. Be careful. Okay, folks. So we were here to do an interview, but suddenly there's a rocket alert and we have come to safety.
An air raid siren over Kyiv. Yet again, we're in the heart of Kyiv, and you can look around the air raid sirens. Once again, people are being asked to rush to evacuate vehicles, security asking vehicles to get off the road. But these air raid sirens, despite Russia saying that there will be no action enters, the air raid sirens continue to go off. Of course, there have been air attacks and missile attacks in some other areas, but right now, air raid sirens in the heart of Kiev on the 14th day of war, it appears to be a cause for concern. Gaurav Sawant in Kiev, Ukraine, for India Today. So two reports of mine, one from Kiev in Ukraine and the other from Israel, in the southern part of Israel, where from the time the Hamas terrorists fire the rocket to the time they hit, the place I was in was Ashkelon in the southern part of Israel, the time to run to safety is barely 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, you either run to safety, or if it's an airburst, and our experts will explain what an airburst is, that's a rocket that explodes in the air and thousands of burning iron shrapnel, they come at a speed of some 300 kilometers or more per hour, and it gets embedded in your head or your hand. If it gets embedded in your shoulder, it takes away your shoulder, it splits your head into two, any part of your body, and that limb is lost or life is lost. And that is why everyone just runs away to safety so that there's some cover over your head the moment an air raid siren goes off. This siren cannot be taken lightly. Why do we need these drills in India now? Look at what's happening. Pakistan's increased air activity and movement of their fighter jets. They could fire a rocket, they could fire a missile, an air-to-ground missile or a surface-to-surface missile, a ship-to-surface missile, anything could be fired. What India is doing right now is testing response of our systems, whether it's the ambulance, whether it's the fire service, whether it's emergency responders, or even people, civil defense, police, fire brigade. It's also to educate this generation and the next generation how being forewarned is being forearmed. When you're better prepared, you can just rush to any building that has some concrete structure on top that can protect you, preferable to get into a bunker or a basement of a building, because Pakistanis clearly will not fire bunker busters like the Americans did on Tora Bora Hills in 2001-2. Again, check coordination between the armed forces and the civilian disaster response agencies.